This is a 4-game set that's going to take place this weekend. Cleveland comes in in the third place in the AL Central. Their record reflects a 18-21 win-loss record, but that is with a game against Houston in progress as of this recording. Now the Tigers sit 15-28. They are 4th in the AL Central, and it should be a pretty good matchup. What we want to look at here is we want to look at the pitching matchup specifically, because that has been the strength of the Detroit Tigers this entire season so far, is our pitching staff. Regardless of how we feel the team overall has been, one thing that we can really kind of tip our hats to and hang our hats on is how good our pitching staff has been, especially with the amount of injuries that we've seen. And those injuries have continued to pile up, specifically for anyone that has towed the rubber for the Detroit Tigers. So let's go through these pitching matchups. Let's look at how they're going to square off. And thankfully for the Tigers, they're starting with their ace. Tarik Skubal is going to be taking on Connor Pilkington. Connor actually made his first major league start May 8th against the Blue Jays. Pilkington does come into this game with no record, 0-0. He does have a 2.08 ERA with a 1.04 whip. He has struck out 11 batters in only 8 2/3 innings pitched. So the lineup's going to have their some trouble. He's only made one start. He's made a couple of relief appearances, has bounced between AAA and the major leagues this season. But this lineup has got to be a lineup that does not let these young players have their best outing against the Tigers, which we have seen consistently. And what they're going to really need to do is focus on getting that first fastball and making contact and barreling the ball up, something that they have just not been able to do at the early part of this season. We really need to see the Tigers hitters, if they want to have success in this game Thursday night, really go on the attack. The Tigers are countering with who I consider to be the ace of our staff, Tarik Skubal. This lefty is phenomenal. I love watching the way that he deals. I love watching the way that he goes out and just makes things happen. He has 21 Ks over his last 3 starts. He comes in with a 3-2 record, a 2.22 ERA, and just a 1.05 whip. This season, he's got 50 strikeouts in 44 2/3 innings. And there's no better way for the Tigers to kind of get building on that momentum that they have from Minnesota than to have Skubal on the bump. This is the guy that you want because he can continue to help you right that ship as long as the bats are swinging. Now, we do know that he was cruising in Cleveland on Friday night. Last Friday night, he was cruising, pitching a fantastic game, and got bumped on the shin by a 100-mile-an-hour. I say bumped ironically, 100-mile-per-hour line drive, and had to leave the game. And there was some concerns about whether he would be able to make that next start or not. It does seem as if he is in line to make that start today, Thursday, against the Guardians as they come to town. So hopefully he can continue to build on what he already was doing last week as they played the Guardians down in Cleveland. So that moves us to Friday, right? What's our pitching matchup for Friday? Well, here is the pitching matchup for Friday. Another young stud for the Tigers taking the bump, who has been kind of the glue that's kind of held this together when Mize and Pineda and now Eduardo Rodriguez have all hit the the injured list, It's no longer called the disabled list. But Faedo has come in and done exactly what the Tigers have needed him to do. He comes in with a 1-1 record, a 3 ERA, a 1.3 whip. He's got 14 strikeouts in 21 innings, but strikeouts are not the name of his game. Contact pitcher that's looking to put the ball in the gloves of the defenders and get deeper into games. And he's been pretty fantastic since he has come into the clubhouse here in Detroit, getting promoted up from AAA getting those spot starts and then staying with the team with this plethora of injuries that we've had. So Alex Faedo, just fantastic compliment to Tarek Skubal on Thursday, going right back with Faedo on Friday. The Guardians are going to then counter with Shane Bieber, the 2020 AL Cy Young Award winner. He comes in with a 1-3 record, a little bit elevated ERA at 3.55, but nothing to sneeze at. A 1.25 WHIP. He's got 46 strikeouts in 45 and 2/3 innings. He is the ace of the Guardian staff. Again, it's going to be one of those situations. It's probably going to be a theme of the night when we're talking about the Tigers and their offense. You gotta get to Bieber early, because if he gets into a groove, it's going to be lights out. Cue the fat lady. Let's go home, because Bieber's got the stuff to shut down the hottest of lineups, and we know that right now the bats are a bit heavy for the boys with the Old English D. That moves us to Saturday. What's coming up Saturday in the weekend sets? Well, Elvin Rodriguez is going to make his second Major League start for the Detroit Tigers. He has no record, bit of an elevated ERA with a 1.57 WHIP. He does have 6 strikeouts in 7 innings pitched, and truthfully, his start against the Twins back on the 23rd gave up the grand slam to Max Kepler in, I believe it was the first inning, if memory serves me correctly. But then he settled in and got them the innings that they needed to get to when you thought that it could spin out of control pretty quick. Now, the Guardians are going to put Tristan Mckenzie on the bump. He comes in with a 3.3 record, 2.7 ERA, and a .9 WHIP. Stellar WHIP. Less than one batter walk or hit per innings pitched. Just fantastic. 37 strikeouts in just over 40 innings. He has gone, in his starts in May, had a little bit of a rocky April, which is why that ERA is higher than it actually could be. But his May, every start in May, he's gone over six innings or more and has given up 3 or less runs, is really kind of settling into that rotation in Cleveland. And then for the finale on Sunday, we're going to get 2 pitchers that have not been the best. It's not going to be a pitcher's duel, or maybe they'll surprise all of us and have their best games of the season. But the Guardians are going to throw out Zach Plesac, who's 0-2 with a 7.52 ERA in road games this season, which bodes well for the Tigers. Overall, he's 1-4 with a 5.40 ERA and a 1.43 WHIP. Tigers are going to then counter with another one of those young pitchers who's been in the rotation for a while, again, due to injuries. And that's Beau Brieske. He's 0-4. He's taken the losses in every one of his starts, so he's looking to get that first major league win. He does have 18 strikeouts in 30 innings pitched, an elevated 5.04 ERA, and he's got a 1.38 WHIP. So when we talk about the Guardians coming to Comerica Park in this 4-game set, right? These are going to be the 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th games that we've played against the Guardians in the last 2 weeks. It's very important for the Tigers here to at least split this series. We have not fared well. We're 5-9 against the AL Central so far this season. And if you're going to turn the corner on what has been a disappointment, look, let's not sugarcoat what this season has been through these first 40-plus games. It's not met expectations. And maybe those expectations were a little bit elevated. But that's okay, because as fans, we're allowed to have high expectations. However, we also need to be reasonable, right? We need to not overreact when expectations aren't met. And so far, the Tigers have not met those expectations. How do they start to right the ship? Well, you start to win against the teams that you need to win against. Coming into the season, the Guardians were not supposed to be middle of the pack in the AL Central, considering everything that they've sold off in recent years. They did sign Jose Ramirez to a lengthier contract in the offseason, but this is a team that you could argue that you could take advantage of. It's a team that you should be able to beat when you play them. However, maybe the Tigers on paper and the Tigers in reality are not what we thought they were. Maybe those two things don't line up. So far, they haven't. And so when we come into a series, especially at home where the Tigers have not performed well, this series could be one of those benchmark moments where you go, you know what? It's time to turn the corner. We won a game in Minnesota. Our pitching held one of the best offenses in the American League in the Minnesota Twins down. Only allowed them to score 9 runs, three runs per game on average. And then the bats failed us. That pitching, combined with hopefully some more barrels on the ball, for crying out loud, should allow the Tigers to then take a turn in this season and move this season more towards the expectations of what we are looking for as fans. Hopefully we come away Sunday going, this was a good series.
Man on a mission, I'ma get it. You know I be on a what? Yeah.